first episode of DeVis Live podcast. It's about Ask Me Anything for blockchain founders. So I'm Violetta Chekan, or VC. Indeed, I'm a venture capitalist. I have 12 years in startups and early stage investing. And at this moment, I am a founder and managing partner of Vis Caeli. We are the first backer of outstanding entrepreneurs in blockchain space at the earliest stages as well. So I would like just to show also a little bit of our link so you can check out what we are actually doing. This time we're actually trying to bring something very interesting. It's a very interesting and a new concept. We decided to make it very interactive and bringing up this live stream series with our partners in collaboration with our best network that we have. And this series is actually brought up with ICP Hub Portugal. So thank you so much for all your support. And also Ignitis, who is also helped out with all the marketing and promotion for this series. Also, I would like to say thank you to our media partners, Web3 Hub, the NCR, Off-Chain, Global, Epic Web3, and Nova Lisbon Business School. And this series is a very relaxed Ask Me Anything kind of concept, and the idea is to bring experts in their field who will provide real-time unfiltered feedback to the founders. And today we have 3 amazing experts and 3 amazing founders. We also prepared a very small intro, so I would love to show this one. And today we have, so I will add some of our amazing experts. So Tiago, hello.
Hello.
Steven, hello. Ricardo, hello. So nice, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. So it's fantastic to have you today. So I would like just to make a very quick intro. So Tiago Loureiro, so from ICP, who is a full stack blockchain architect. Also Ricardo Chaves, who is our AI expert and executive director and BPI AI Center of Excellence. And of course, Dr. Steven Waterhouse, who is founding partner right now and founder and managing partner of Nazare Ventures, a new fund. And he has also a PhD, I think, in AI, correct?
Yeah,
so fantastic. So fantastic session. So I would love to give a little bit of just a word. So Steven, maybe you can have like 30 seconds, like a little bit about yourself so people would know a little bit about you.
happy to. As you mentioned, I did my PhD in AI, neural networks, in the 90s at Cambridge, and then moved to San Francisco, where I lived for 25 years, building startups, sold a couple of companies, took one public, and then I started a venture fund called Pantera Capital, which is one of the bigger funds in crypto now. 2017, I also started a crypto project called Orchid, which is a decentralized VPN platform. I've been investing in kind of frontier technologies for the last couple of decades, and just recently returned back to the AI field with the new fund called Nazare.
Fantastic. Ricardo.
Hi all, and Violetta, thank you for I hope you're listening well, because I'm having some issues with the microphone today. I'm what can be called the business translator. So basically, I work with AI for a long time, for more than 10 years. Basically, corporate transformation with AI. I spent around 10 years in McKinsey, the last 2 in a hub dedicated to machine learning and advanced analytics projects. Since then, I worked in Chaves, that is a Portuguese main payment processor, where I also worked with AI, mainly anti-fraud operations. I was responsible for the commercial areas, the anti-fraud areas, and customer service. More recently, I joined the BPI 3 years ago to build from scratch this center of excellence. I've been spending the time with my around 35 data scientists to grabbing opportunities to transform a bank upside down using AI. Also, this is an interesting detail. I left McKinsey for 5 years to join a family office, and I was kind of an entrepreneur and founder at the time to launch a rental equipment company, which is one of the biggest in Portugal. It's called Mac Rent. So it was a moment when I shared probably most of your pains that you are living right now, trying to make your company struggle in a competitive environment. And very nice to be here. And let's see if I can help.
Of course, of course. Tiago.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Tiago. I'm from Porto, Portugal, and my background is more on computer science. I was working 5-6 years as web developer on an e-commerce company. And more recently, I started to join the ICP ecosystem. I've been a freelancer for around 2 years. And after those 2 years, this project of the ICP Portuguese hub emerged, and right now we are one of the leaders in the entire world on the hub's network. We are trying to go from hackathon and trying to go product market fit to actually have the entire grants program and entire acceleration program, support them all the way so that they can have an SNS, which is a TGE events, and have enough support so that they can actually have a product with sustainability and and market fit. And we are also, should I introduce the conference, Violetta?
Yes, I would love to, because so this weekend you're doing something very fantastic, and also Steven, by the way, will be one of the speakers, there. So Tiago, please say a little bit more about this, so people can still have registration, and actually we have also a special discount code from Vis Caeli as well.
Exactly, and on that coupon, you can get, I think it's 95% discounts. So the last opportunity, definitely. It's going to be this weekend. We are very happy to organize it. It's with Lunar Strategy, that is the agency responsible for it, and the ICP Hub is going to be a major partner there. ICP is going to have it's very interested in the AI ecosystem, because you can actually run on-chain models on the IC, which is something interesting. It's a kind of a decentralized cloud built on blockchain technology. And on the links that Violetta is going to share, you can also see a little bit more about ICP, an overview, an ecosystem, and also links for the conference, and also a hacker house that we are organizing for people that want to actually try it out. We will have some challenges there, and hope you can make it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing this. So my team is already putting in the chat, in the live chat, the link for the discount code, and also we will have this also in the so just below on the comment section as well. So please check out. And also so something that is interactive. So please I will ask the audience also to ask questions live. So we might have some extra time to have this as more interactive as possible. Also use emojis and comment section as well to give us feedback, so we can improve all the time, because it's also very important for us. And of course, we would love to welcome our first builder today. So we have Edgar Nemse. So I will add him right now. Hello.
Hey. Hi, everyone. My name is Edgar. Thank you for having me. I am the co-founder and chief product officer of Jaeger AI, where we're building GenLayer. GenLayer, really briefly, is a new kind of blockchain. We call it an intelligent blockchain, where smart contracts can connect directly to the internet to fetch any data, and they can execute natural language instructions using large language models. And we do this in a way that's a bit unusual from everybody else. We do this by aggregating the intelligence of many different large language models. So large language models are a part of our consensus process itself. The easiest way to explain it is kind of like Claros, but with AIs instead of people in the jury. But basically, for every transaction, we have a leader that proposes a result, and then other large language models, other validators evaluate the leader's output and kind of vote if they agree with the leader or don't agree with the leader. The upshot of this is that we have a smart contract platform, an intelligent contract platform where you can build smart contracts that can work in code and natural language, connect directly to the internet, so you can build things like self-resolving prediction markets, parametric insurance contracts, in the future more like, AI, truly autonomous AI DAOs that are making decisions, implementing bounties, different things like that. So that's super briefly. So
Awesome.
I guess, go ahead.
Yeah, awesome. Like, yeah, so it was a fantastic intro. So you are CPO, right? So you are responsible for product, correct?
That's correct. My background is in computer science and AI, and I've been a software engineer and a CTO in a previous project. And nowadays I'm looking at, the whole stack, all the way from consensus to like user and developer facing products in our company.
Yeah, and Nemse, so where you are joining us from?
I'm joining from Lisbon, Portugal. That's where I'm based nowadays. But originally I'm from Latvia, Riga, Latvia, but nowadays in Lisbon.
Cool. It's so I'm also from Eastern Europe, so it's nice to see more people coming here to Lisbon. Awesome. So the concept is very simple. So nice to hear what you're building. So now tell us about like what are your challenges, and you have the opportunity of our 3 great experts to answer all your questions that you have. So you have about 15-20 minutes, so we can have a very great discussion.
That's great. Thank you so much, Violetta. I'm really looking forward to your input. So my first question is, this is a crypto and AI kind of podcast. We're seeing a lot of different projects. There's a hot space right now. There's a lot of different projects, let's say, competing for attention. So my first question is around marketing. How do you, there's a lot of noise, a lot of activity going on. How do you break through this noise, and how do you reach your target audience? I guess in our case, that will be developers building on us, but of course, broader community. How do you approach marketing? How do you think about that? How do you break through the noise?
Steven, maybe? Steven, we cannot hear you.
You're mute. Mute, Steven.
Oh, wow. I guess went on mute by mistake. That's weird. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So are you saying marketing to developers? Is that the particular task you're trying to figure out?
Developers, I guess, would be our main target audience, but more broadly, in general in crypto, and especially in crypto and AI, there's a lot of activity, a lot of noise going on. How do you break through that noise? How do you think about marketing?
I mean, there's lots of different kinds of marketing. Specifically to developers, I think hackathons are a very useful approach. Also, sort of having code that's available to use, easy to build with, easy to try out, not having everything kind of hidden or requiring some kind of extra steps to use. I think that's a powerful approach. Clearly, engaging through Discord or other social channels and building highly focused groups around that. As far as like a broader narrative marketing and so on, then there's a whole mimetic engagement strategy you can build around many different channels within crypto. But I think that certainly focusing on the hackathons will be my basic bet, first bet for that for you.
I have a quick question. What is the main segment that you would be targeting? Because I'm going through the white paper of Chainlayer. It's interesting. It will be an entire separate blockchain that you will be making from scratch. So you want people to use the blockchain, am I correct? So your main
Yeah,
target is maybe dApps or people
So-
that already have that are using AI models, but instead of hosting them on AWS or Google Cloud, they would actually host it and run the AI model in your blockchain. Is that correct?
That's almost correct. So we're not. So we are a full smart contract platform. At the same time, for the kind of reasons you point out, we're building it on top of a private rollup, an EVM rollup, such through which we can connect to many different ecosystems, to different interoperability protocols. Because our initial target audience would be existing projects such as prediction markets, such as parametric insurance protocols that already exist in various blockchains that don't want to probably migrate to a whole new ecosystem. So we want to make sure that they can use GenLayer for decision making. So that would be existing projects, especially any crypto project, any decentralized project, where right now you need human decision making, which is inherently extremely slow, extremely expensive, at least comparing, to what these large language models can do. More broadly, we're looking for, founders, basically. I guess builders would be our target audience. Because it's very easy, for us internally to come up with a ton of different new use cases, because this really kind of blows the door open for what's possible with a decentralized blockchain. At the same time, they have a lot of opportunities, they have a lot of choice for where to go and build things. So, but in the end, we're looking for founders starting, whatever is going to be the Uniswap of GenLayer. That's how I would put it.
So my feedback would be more towards finding partners that can actually even become the case studies in the beginning. Definitely, this looks good. The prediction markets, definitely having a couple of them, and already they actively using. Imagine poly markets saying there that it was you, the model was hosted on your blockchain, and then grow from there, definitely. But I think that I wouldn't waste. So another feedback that I would give: don't waste too much energy on retail people or even small developers. Also, something that I've experienced on the hackathons, as Stephen was saying, is that
Right.
so we have the normal hackathons, and on the last one was an AI hackathon, and we had two tracks, the AI and the normal track, and we noticed a big drop, I would say, of developers for the AI track, because it's hard. It's inherently a little bit more hard, and also regarding the businesses, to find businesses around it, it's sometimes difficult, and that's why I wouldn't go for the small developers. I would go definitely for the big companies that can immediately profit from you, and be the integrator, have maybe a couple of dev shops that are specialized on, that are already doing it, but they can also do for you, and maybe partner with them so that they can really start to bring volume to the blockchain, and not waste that many resources on building up a community and everyone is aware, but then they cannot use you because it's not on their competency level to actually to do it. That would be my advice.
Yeah, thank you.
And on top of on Tiago's and Stephen's advice, the only thing I would add is more of a commercial advice in this sense. If it's big partners that you want, pick not one or two, but 50, 60. When you want to have commercial drive, this is all in the end about the commercial funnel. So in the end, if you have two or three, you will spend a lot of energy, and the probability that you get one is very low. If you do it kind of industrially, go for the bigger ones, but go for 50 and prepare to go, because in the end, if you go for a small amount of potential partners, you will end up discussing, oh, it's the presentation that isn't good because I need an extra slide. And that is not true. Truth is that most of the partners eventually, if you take a bank, for instance, eventually it's not the partner that you want. But when we talk with a lot of startups, it's not that we don't want a service. Most of the time we have legacy systems from the 70s that make any type of migration of a lot of our services expensive and eventual non-prioritary at this moment. So it doesn't mean your technology isn't right. It means that you're not talking to the right partner. And this is a matter of pure probability. So go for 50, 100, prepare for it, and do it in a disciplined way. And you'll see that eventually one will fall for it.
That's great. So volume. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, this one is very, very good advice because I had a startup before and we exactly made the mistake with the sales funnel. So our sales funnel was not enough, like we didn't build enough of the sales funnel. So we didn't have enough of the leads in order to proceed, because this is also like about the volume and about like the timing and the conversions, because there is obviously also the conversion rates for different industries. So yeah, it makes total difference, especially once you're a startup. So it's a great advice. Thank you. So other questions? You still have more time?
Yeah, perfect. So next thing I want to ask about is something that kind of keeps me up at night. We're growing fast as a company. From just the 3 founders to more than 20 people now. Hard to keep track of who's joining which week. And my question is, how do you retain a strong culture? How do you make sure everybody's still shipping fast? Everybody's still on the same page, especially in a remote company that is growing rapidly.
Maybe
that's the classic question.
Okay.
I think it's hard when you get past. You guys want to go or not? It's hard when you get past 20 people because. Are you guys primarily remote right now or decentralized?
Fully remote, yes. Yeah. Although we had an offsite just the other week, so that was really helpful.
Yeah. I mean, in distributed teams, and crypto's got the best sort of examples of these, you need to have, fairly regular get-togethers, whether these are happening at conferences because you all go there and you organize something around the conference, or you do something specific like you just did where you say, okay, everyone meet here, let's get things done. Those things are really crucial because as much as, remote work is efficient and fun and, so on, it's flexible, but there's still like an incredible efficiency and dynamic interaction when you meet in person. So I'd really push for those things, figure out how much money you're saving on office costs and other kinds of things, and put that money into offsites. Make them fun, make them engaging, make people want to go to them. Companies are really driven by the culture of the founders. So you need to imprint that on your teams, on the people you're hiring. You need to kind of be, constantly engaging and talking to them, making sure that you're available. Things don't get like passed down in a hierarchy where you just don't know exactly what's going on. As you scale past 30 people or so, you'll face another inflection point where that culture becomes even harder to replicate and continue with. If you're scaling past 50 people, I'd really advise you to think about, where at least part of your team is going to land. Because at that point, you want to be in the same geography, or you want to be on time zone, or you want to be maybe in the same city, even if you're doing distributed stuff, so that you're closer together and can get things done. Because past that point, scaling teams on a distributed global basis is sort of like a black art. I don't know that many teams. There's a handful of teams globally that have done it that I know of, but things tend to break. So get ready to, figure out where at least part of your team is going to be headquartered, even if you're still doing distributed stuff or partially distributed.
Awesome.
How many in Orchid right now? There are people.
Yeah, we've oscillated between 20 and 30 people, but we try to keep it at that point. The other team I work with, Squid, is about between 20 and 30 people too. There are teams that scale beyond that point. I mean, GitHub is the classic example, and you should read through how GitHub was built and the kind of the examples of how they successfully scale things on a distributed basis. But it combined having a headquarters with being distributed. And so you could come to the headquarters, the people meet up at the headquarters. It's kind of like a hybrid strategy. Fully decentralized is tough to maintain culture. As much as it sounds, exciting and futuristic, I think it's something that we all tried to do during COVID. But in the end, you'll find everyone's flocking to the conferences to try and meet each other. Right? So there's something to be said for what's going on there.
I totally agree with Stephen. I can share you the experience of running the AI Center of Excellence. We moved from 0 to nearly 40 in 2 years and a half, and we are all here in Lisbon, and we are most of the time present in the office. So we have 1.5 days remote. But the point is, when you're growing significantly and you're demanding a lot from your team, because it's not the same to work in a new area or a new enterprise. It's completely different from joining a team that is already at cruise speed and doing regular stuff. I think the level of excitement is very important to ensure that people get, the team is tight and close. Also, the training. When I speak, I didn't lose any data scientists until now. And when I try to understand that, because a lot of people complain about the churn of the data scientists, I try to understand. In the end, what I conclude is you have to offer them the right technology, the latest, which I believe you're delivering for what you explained. A lot of training, and that depends in our case on having senior leaderships. Most of my senior leaders are guys in the 40s, which in the end is important because they are better at training young people than young people is at training young people. So the more senior is the leadership, the more young people you can have on your team benefiting from proper training. Responsibility. Most of them are already leading after 1 year, leading relevant stuff in the team. And team play. And team play, I think that to do something that is challenging and is growing fast is really difficult. And demands a lot of problem solving, a lot of interaction, a lot of being right and wrong and going through the storm of discussion and debate. And I think that, but this is my belief, that when you do this presently, when you do this in presence, you develop close relationships with people. When you do this remotely, you need to be very disciplined in doing so, because it can be frustrating, tiring, in the sense that, so I agree with Stephen. I think you should think of making sure that you engage people, off sites, whatever, but regularly, to make sure that the bonds the bonds they create, they need to create in person. Then you can leave on that and do some remote job. But I would bet a lot on events in person to build the bonds. And whenever you have breakthroughs to make in problem solving, strategy, whatever, do it in person. Invite them. You will see that the plane tickets are cheap relatively to the excitement you'll get of having people around you.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you a lot. So I think that for now we are finishing and with you. So we need to have already another one. So thank you so much, Edgar. So I hope that you are growing.
Experts. That was really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. So please also check out Edgar's on the links below, and also what he is building. This is a very interesting project. And yeah, thank you so much for joining this session. So I will start adding another person. So we have Thomas. Hi, Thomas.
Hi there, how are you?
Nice to have you here. So nice to meet you as well. So tell us what you're building.
It's great to be here. I'm the CEO and founder of FinQuil. FinQuil is a agent studio prioritizing use of open source tools and Web3 infrastructure to build agents and kind of anything that they need to function in their most optimal form in a way that's most privacy preserving. I think it's helpful to go into my background. My career started at BlackRock. I was working in fund distribution and portfolio advisory. So working with financial advisors, RIAs, other wealth managers to make sure that their portfolios were, using portfolio science to the fullest. And I was working in the San Francisco office in 2017, 2018, and kind of caught the crypto bug, and was pretty convinced that I had figured out what traditional financial infrastructure looked like, but that this new world was going to have completely different infrastructure, and that if I was going to be productive in it, I needed to learn, what made everything tick. And so I ended up taking a job with a company called Bakkt, which was a New York Stock Exchange sister company that focused on Bitcoin settled futures contracts as well as custody. So I was on a team that covered custody and liquidity operations, so making sure that your Bitcoin was safe and that when you settled a futures contract, you took physical delivery of Bitcoin at the end. And most recently, before FinQuil, I was at a company called Oasis Pro Markets, which was a real world assets exchange, essentially aiming to be NASDAQ for private markets. And what I learned throughout that entire experience was that there are people on the edges of the distribution network, so the financial advisors, funds, they run very good businesses. No one's crying for them financially, but individually, they can't really facilitate all of this technological innovation that was happening. So on the Web3 side, that's, numerous chains, and whether it's, open networks like Ethereum or Solana, or, more private networks like your Provenance, JP Morgan Onyx, Goldman Sachs' Canton network is the one they're championing. So many of the real world assets, while they're not moving along these rails now, eventually that's where a lion's share of the assets will be, and kind of managing what I call the multiverse of Web3, as well as now the multiverse of AI, with how many models that you have to deal with and all that comes with that. I think I come from it at a bit different side of the coin from everybody else on this call. I kind of looked around and said, there's a bunch of smart people doing really excellent things, and I need to go find the people that can most use this and package it in a way that is really digestible. So FinQuil aims to be, like I said, this agent studio where you have your models, you've got RAG pipelines, you've got knowledge graphs, and then to the extent that you can run those on, if you want to bring your AWS, run it, ChatGPT's models straight from their cloud, you can do that. But we want to provide optionality so that everybody can build in a way that they're most comfortable and most optimal as well. There's so many architectural things you can do to save money on deployment, cost per token, and that's FinQuil in a nutshell. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for the introduction. So what are your questions? So what are you mostly challenging at this moment?
Yeah, I think the task that I put upon myself the most is to scout these frontier technologies and maybe deliver them to clients that would otherwise not get them for a few years. And the job there is essentially to go out on the ice and make sure the ice is thick enough for production use cases to roll out. And I think that we've all been very exposed to what I would call local co-pilots in AI, which is taking your local data, whether that's personal or professional, and using a RAG pipeline to allow a model to answer questions with data that's native to you or your system. And I think that one of the more blue ocean use cases.
Sorry, I will hide Bidhan Hi, but we will hide you for now.
We're all friends here.
But I will hide you. I will add you just in a moment. Okay, so thank you. Sorry. So yeah, we will add him. Yeah, so he's backstage. He can listen. But yeah, we are trying to to manage this and in a very like interactive way, and also like with a proper attention as well. So sorry, Thomas, continue, please.
No worries. So local copilots, that's everything you've seen with GitHub or the suite of Microsoft products that have ChatGPT integrated with them. But I think that where we all really get excited is this idea of a global copilot. It's an agent that exists ideally running on trustless, permissionless, distributed infrastructure that can take our aggregated data to do what platforms like Google have done for a long time, but in a centralized manner, and make it trustless so that the sum is more than just what all of our data adding in. You know, your data on its own is only worth so much, but when we compile everything together, there are really some transformative use cases. And I see there's 3 pillars, and one might be more of connective tissue between the pillars, but you need decentralized physical infrastructure to be able to facilitate, you know, a user experience that is acceptable or at least competitive with closed source options. And you need zero knowledge tech that can facilitate this, because we essentially need to facilitate a world where, you know, if I have prompts that are valuable to somebody, that somebody else can use my agents and I can, you know, monetize that in some way and not be afraid that there's data leaks. So you can, you know, use my prompt engineering skills without, you know, me giving away my secret sauce. I think, you know, the best analogy is if you're a quantitative trader, you have certain special sauce that you bring to new firms, and you know.
But what is your question is? Like, what is your...
So I would leave an open question. Where do you see the state of blockchain technology, specifically DePIN, decentralized physical infrastructure, generative AI, and the stack of zero knowledge solutions to facilitate that use case of a global copilot?
That's like a massive question.
It is.
Yeah.
I had to cut down, so I condensed them into one.
Wow. So for those of you who don't know what all these terms mean, I'll just do a bit of an intro so we can kind of level set. So DePINs are effectively incentivized decentralized services. So you can think of like Filecoin as an example of a DePIN, where you have the service being the provision of storage. There are, in the case of AI, which we're talking about now, there are people running GPU nodes, which are doing available for various different services and being incentivized. And these things exist also in the non-crypto world. I'm an investor in a company called Vast, which provides a decentralized GPU platform. People get paid on Stripe. So the difference and the interesting thing, interesting differentiator with crypto is that DePINs are usually set up as an incentivized way to generate the supply of GPUs or other systems. In a lot of DePINs, there's a demand problem. So DePINs have been very successful at building up lots of supply. There's not a lot of demand. Part of the problem with that is that there's a bit of a culture / impedance mismatch between AI and crypto AI. Specifically, the people in conventional AI 12 hours from here in San Francisco think that this is mostly a scam. Sorry, but that's the perception. Go on Hacker News, you'll see the same thing. And we haven't done ourselves any favors. FTX, 3AC, etc. I've been in crypto for 11 years. I don't believe it's a scam, even though there are many examples of it being a scam. I think that crypto AI and the kind of framework you're talking about has the opportunity to either be kind of like a parallel stack of technology and an ecosystem in a similar way to what Stani at Aave and Hayden at Uniswap built out, and all the other DeFi major components that were built out and have now built a parallel financial stack, which is now connecting to the real world stack. And I'm sure, Ricardo, if you've been in crypto at any period of time, you'll maybe remember Bank Chain and all the periods of time where we wanted to build crypto without crypto. That didn't work. So what worked was building a parallel financial stack in DeFi, which then connects to the real, the existing financial stack. That thing may happen also with decentralized AI. which is like DeepIns and generative AI and all the things you're talking about. Alternatively, some of the, and this is a lot of what we're investing in as well, is you may get a situation where some of the benefits that you're getting from decentralized AI have direct applicability into, the sort of mainstream AI, where just, there's huge amounts of money at stake. For example, if your decentralized AI technologies are capable of scaling either inference or training, even small amounts of that is worth a ton of money, right? So currently a lot of people are experimenting at that edge of things. As far as ZK goes, there's a number of applications of ZK. One of the areas I've been looking at is zero knowledge for proving compute. So one of the things that's often overlooked in the DeepIn or just generalized decentralized services framework, whether it's crypto incentivized or otherwise, is proving whether or not something was done. So we tend to think in crypto and blockchain that we already have proof, but we don't in the case of services. So when you're running a service, how do you know, like you pay for it, did somebody send you back something random? Did they actually use the GPU they were saying they're going to use, or did something really cheaper? Did they just make something up? Did they copy someone else's? This happened on BitTensor in the early days. So proving whether something was done is, I think, one of the more interesting and current relevant applications of zero knowledge. There are other applications, of course, data provenance, model provenance, weights provenance, etc. A lot of the solutions currently are a little bit too complex and expensive, and so people combine zero knowledge or do like more of an optimistic approach to the proving, and there's a spectrum between those different things. I could go on, but that was hopefully a comprehensive answer from my perspective. And Tiago and Ricardo, I'm sure you have other inputs.
Yeah, I think we have like a little bit of time. Maybe Thomas, you can have like another question, a very quick one, so we can have also a little bit more.
Yeah, of course.
Hello?
Yep, I lost you there for a second, so I was just making sure you were done with your sentence. But that was a great overview of DeepIn. I think you hit all the points, and I definitely agree with a lot of the sentiment. Something to maybe steer more towards the AI-specific side, something that we're passionate about at FinQuil is, moving from this era of using a transformer architecture for large language models and facilitating kind of the year of the LQM, the large quantitative model, where you're using that same architecture to not guess the next string of text or set of letters, but to actually use essentially what AI was before ChatGPT, which was all of these tried and true machine learning algorithms to go through and try random forests and Garch or Rima and all of those great use cases that in a lot of cases are much more efficient. But where do you see the state of large quantitative models, either for financial applications, healthcare applications? Are we there yet? Is it 2 to 3 years out? Is it 5 years out?
Maybe Ricardo.
Okay, maybe I can give you my perspective. I'm a huge fan of the predictive traditional AI stack, and I will explain you briefly why. Because it's what allows you to put a generative stack on top and create a lot of value, but in a way that you know exactly what's happening in your database, be it banking clients or whatever. In the bank, for instance, I have what we call an orchestrator, which is, imagine 25 machine learning models where I know the propensity for each product or the churn propensity in each product or the involvement of the bank. And on top of it, I can deploy generative AI, which is much wider in what is generated. But I really know the probability of sale normalized for all the clients. So I can allow myself to go deeper in creativity because the basis is mathematically controllable. Whenever I try to move to generative AI in a way to make it predict something, we tried, it predicts something, but we only use it when the trade-off is is good. I'll give you an example. We have complaints, in areas where we are not measuring properly the throughput of the bank as we want in the future. So I'm not able to measure any root cause properly, but I have around 1,000 complaints per month, imagine. And it's text, it's valuable text. So I can train with generative AI something that becomes a consistent report that deep dives into the topics and in the root causes of each topic in a way that I can grab some stability. So it's not a different report anytime we run it. And for that, it's useful because the trade-off is very useful. To use an LLM to make regressive predictions or classification against gradient boosting, I think it can be useful in cases where you have scarcity of data, and eventually you can leverage the generalistic part of the LLM. For instance, imagine that you want to know things about clients trends, customer trends and you're a small company, you don't have much data. Of course, what you will get out of the LLM will be impact from what's happening, and it's readable by the LLM, especially if it is a pure generalist like GPT-4o or something like that. So for me, it's useful when the trade-off is attractive in this sense. Whenever you're using a big data in a way that you can use it reliably, I would prefer to start with traditional predictive AI and on top putting generative AI. But I'm also a banker. I'm pretty conservative in the way I can predict whatever. Okay, I need to explain things to the Bank of Portugal whenever they ask. So
No, absolutely.
eventually in
That's an
other
excellent
industries you
point.
can.
And that's something
Yeah.
that we would hear a lot when, you know, a user or a client would come to us and say, you know, there's this great capability that I see in ChatGPT. I now want to do this with an open source model like Llama because I need to know what's going on under the hood. And I say, well, you still might not know what's going on under the hood. You know, it will just be running on your own architecture, your own IT system. So I think that's an excellent point. There's so many use cases in finance where a black box is not an option, no matter how well it works. You need to be able to
Anthropic
explain.
made some experience recently to know what's under the hood in LLMs. They eventually understood what are the neurons that are being activated in some. For instance, they found that there's one neuron that relates to imagine Richard Feynman, but they did it in a way that's not scalable. So it is very interesting defining. For the first time, you can eventually get explainability, but it's completely different from the one you get out of a gradient boosting and a sharp analysis or something like that. It's much different.
Well, thank you so much. So Thomas, thank you so much for joining. Yeah, so please also check out what he's building. Very interesting project. Thank you so much. So I will be I will be hiding you right now to the backstage, and so we are having the next one. Hi. Hi,
Hey, hi.
hi, hi, Bidhan. How are you?
I'm great. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we do. Sorry, I had to hide you a little bit because it's like once you're like you appear it for like a live stream. So that's
Yeah, it's
there
all
is a
good.
backstage. There is backstage and there is yeah. So thank you so much for joining. I would love to hear what you're building, and then you will have like 15 minutes of your time with our experts to ask your questions. So, but please first, like just very briefly, like 1 minute, like a small pitch, what you're building, because this is a really interesting one.
Yeah, Bidhan, my name, if you're wondering how to say the name. Some people call me Biden, like Joe Biden. But yeah, and I am the founder of Bagel. And what Bagel is in one line, we are a monetizable version of open source AI ecosystem. So we use advanced cryptography to allow open source AI developers to monetize their work, its models and datasets, and those kind of things. And there's a lot of different things that goes into it, but on top we allow basically attribution of contribution to models. We allow for privacy of those contributions so that the attributions are enforced, and we also allow better performance, like through some of our partnerships when the developers are developing those systems. So that's like kind of, I know, very much overall, but you can think of us, Bagel is a monetizable open source AI.
Awesome, awesome. So what are your questions? Tell us, what are your challenges at this moment?
My challenges?
Yeah, so yeah, the concept is ask me anything, right? So here's we have Tiago Loureiro from ICP, we have Ricardo from BPIII, we have also Steven Waterhouse, perhaps you know him from ex Pantera, ex Fabric Ventures as well, and yeah, now he started his own firm, Nazare. So tell us, what are your questions to them?
I guess, what do you guys think is something the crypto AI can do that the non-crypto AI cannot do? Right. I think if that has been covered, I can go to something else as well. But curious. I wasn't present during that part of the conversation, earlier part of the conversation. Whoever wants to take it. So
maybe I could start. So trying to put things on crypto, you always have to go through consensus. At least that's the idea. And every time that you are trying to do something far away, you need to have the security layer on top of it, and that brings more costs. And if you're doing encrypting, decrypting, and so on, you're giving more costs. So something that I've been thinking a lot is that running things on chain would always need to be something that is valuable, that is sensitive, and not maybe more general everyday computation that maybe you would run on your own computer, for example. So one of the things that I've been seeing is, for example, KYC. KYC and the recordings and analyzing this kind of sensitive information, analyzing your cards, and for example, that should be something that is already done by machines. But in this case, doing it on chain, you are having the cost of once per person. It's a okay cost, you know, and if people are willing to pay for it, for example, to make sure that your identity is safe, let's imagine like WorldCoin that is already doing it a little bit. But in this case, for other examples that are sensitive data, I think doing things on chain is important. Another example that I have is doing certification of anything, but usually certification. Because, you know, the way that you are certifying, the way that you are running, the way that it's once per model, for example, let's imagine certification of AI models. You are only having this cost once when you are analyzing it, and it's tamper-proof. Like no one can actually go there and hack in that sense. It should be robust, like it should be done across many different times. It should be reproducible, and it does make sense. It starts to fit into this narrative that, okay, actually it's an advantage for the business model to actually be on chain, because by default you already have these features. You already have transparency, you already have robustness, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so I think it needs to make sense on the narrative where the costs and the actions that you are doing are not the main drive of the business, and the other parts where it's sensitive data, where it's not being run a lot of times, it starts to make sense. That would be my answer.
I tend to agree with Tiago in the sense that you need to have the value proposition must be strong. It must be really clear why you're leveraging a blockchain ecosystem against. You need. I would always imagine AWS, Google, and Azure as there's a lot going on there, and at a relatively cheap price nowadays if you know how to use it. So the competition, when you try to be competitive, you must really deliver something that is not there, and that they are not willing to deliver. For instance, when I look at Fetch AI and the agents built in Fetch AI, when they're interesting things in the concept because you're centralizing APIs, you're centralizing databases, marketplaces. So when you want to build an agent, in fact, it can be symbiotic, it can be synergic to have all these shared AI assets over there, and it in the end it will improve the performance of what you're trying to do with AI. Another one that I remembered right now, for instance, I'm using Document AI to a lot of the processing in the bank, and we train the models, and then we extract data from the documents. In a bank, a lot of process will still have documents for the next 20 years. In the end, imagine I take with a 98% accuracy a lot of data from a document, and eventually this document will be used in another operation in another bank, and they don't have the technology, and eventually this could be delivered against in a centralized way, and for that it should be transparent, controllable, and blockchain technology could be useful for it. So it must be something, as Tiago was saying, that it's not necessarily I'm doing the same thing with a different aspect and a more cool description because it's blockchain. No, because it's highly competitive right now, the market against AWS and Google and Azure. They are trying to eat out everything that is new, and so they copy fast and with a lot of money to deliver the same functionalities. So I think you really should leverage things that depend on centralization and transparency. That's what blockchain can deliver on top. And building ecosystems that don't exist, that now don't exist, but if you facilitate, they could exist. Then, in the end, what you're building up is ecosystems and not necessarily the technology. You're not competing on technology, you're building ecosystems. That would be my take.
Okay, awesome, thank you. So, any other questions? So, actually, I shared in the chat also some of the questions that you shared. Biden, should I say? Should I call you Biden?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, tell us, tell us.
no, makes sense. Steven, any thoughts? I think Steven didn't share it yet on the topic we were discussing.
I have thoughts. I think that the way I look at these things is I look like I've been very specific in making sure I'm not describing the fund as a crypto AI fund. I look at what we're doing as we're working on AI infrastructure. We're trying to scale it. So decentralized technologies are one approach to doing that. There are other approaches too. So when I look at the impact of blockchains, crypto, and in general decentralized technologies, I'm looking at to what extent it reduces the cost of current AI infrastructure, because I'm less interested right now in finding new applications or worrying about whether people are paying for AI, because both those things are being demonstrated right now. And there's almost like people sometimes get a bit concerned saying like, oh, what's the real application here, or what's the monetization? But ChatGPT is the fastest growing application in history, and people pay for it. So those two questions are already solved. And if the only application is the chatbot for a while, okay. And if it's just agents built on top of that, that's great too. But if we're paying the amount that we're paying for in infrastructure costs, it's not going to work. Like there's only so much VC funding and other funding that can be done. The big platforms like OpenAI, Anthropic, etc., they're trying to build the kind of God particle, the God application. So people may be willing to throw money at that until God is found. But for the rest of us who aren't building gods, we have to think about how do we reduce the cost of the infrastructure. So the interesting things I found are decentralized GPU platforms where you're doing an arbitrage away from homogeneous H100 connected by InfiniBand to heterogeneous GPU architectures, some of them more consumer grade level things which do arbitrage around the current licenses that NVIDIA and other people have. Those kind of solutions are very interesting right now. The applications of those have primarily been focused on inference, and now most recently with work by, say, Jensen, Prime Intellect, News Research, Pluralis, other people are looking at decentralized training applications now. I think that area could be sort of like the Apache moment for open source AI, if that is proven to be useful, because currently we only have 10 entities in the world that can build a foundation model at scale. So if you could change that and make that more open, then I think that would make for some very interesting things happening. So those are some samples of some of the things I've been looking at.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, that's very
More
interesting.
question?
Sorry. Yeah.
More
Can you guys
questions?
hear me? I'm just trying to figure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No. Just wanted to share my thought quickly. Is that I hear a kind of a pattern here. Is that the decentralized technologies at the end of the day are basically coordination technologies, which basically allows a lot of people who are probably geographically distributed coming together and collaborate with each other to build things. And blockchain is the best technology for that. So I guess that's the pattern among all the answers, is like if you want to allow a community of people to come together and build systems, blockchain is a great technology for that, and we agree. Makes sense.
So one more question. One more question.
Yeah. So in terms of the privacy side of things, like Tiago and Ricardo, you guys have mentioned, what kind of technologies are you guys excited about?
I could actually mention that the ICP has private stakes. So ICP on itself, when you are making, imagine a DAO can actually control a series of canisters of smart contracts that have memory attached to it. And these canisters, they are actually private. And that's something that is really cool. So people, let's imagine a knockoff of Fetch AI, that is Elna AI. They can be run entirely on chain. And why is these models protected? Because each model is being run on one smart contract, and then that smart contract can actually connect and call other smart contracts and do things in a bit network way. But yeah, that's already private on the case of ICP. And yeah, but out there, yeah, I think that's it. Maybe I'll let Ricardo answer.
I would
That's very
just
cool.
add one thing, but in the end, it's not quite interesting. It's very bank related. There is an issue right now with regulation, and when we address privacy issues and security issues, we have to comply with tons of regulation, and right now also the AI Act. So in the end, and for you to have an idea what is a typical challenge, whenever we find something that we believe works fine in terms of privacy and security, it's not to convince us that is the issue. It's to make sure that then we can convince the Bank of Portugal and the Bank of Europe that we are complying with all the rules. When we were hiring, for instance, Microsoft or Google, this was kind of crazy because some things we were demanded some things that of course no supplier would accept, even less one that is a giant one, and of course won't allow you to audit, servers and or crazy things like that. But in the end, what we are seeing in the regulation is that, for instance, the AI Act is coming with rules that must be complied by the supplier. So I would advise you to look at that in the first place, because in Europe, most in the States, not exactly the same, but in Europe, this is becoming a kind of bureaucratic topic as well. I'll give you an interesting example. The guys that benefit the most from the AI Act in that term was IBM, not AWS, not Google we speak with, but IBM. Why? Because they were behind, and so they were the first to invest in complying with some of the rules. So this is how bureaucratic it has become.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to
Thank you for
revert
the
back to the
answers.
previous question as to what blockchain, like what crypto AI is used for, decentralized AI is used for. I'm going to riff off what Ricardo was saying, which is that imagine a future where you've got certain jurisdictions which sort of ban AI in different ways because it's starting to disrupt society, it's removing jobs, etc. Right? So, like to the extent that automation is kind of started to be a little bit regulated, even more than it is now. I think the crypto AI, decentralized AI plays will start to become increasingly relevant and used, because one of the things that we've seen with decentralized technologies is that they're very good at regulatory arbitrage. And so you'll see people start to use these technologies when they would otherwise be, regulated or, not allowed to be used. And I think that you may see a whole world of that. As far as privacy, I think one of the most interesting areas and sort of quite unsolved challenges is related to privacy of data. So in a decentralized environment, you can see queries, you can see data if it's a distributed training environment. So these areas where you're looking at technologies like homomorphic encryption, which some people claim to have solved and other people are sort of arguing that it hasn't really been solved, or how do you provide some guarantees of these things as one of the sort of open areas of research and innovation, and obviously opportunity.
Yeah, totally agree. Like one of the things when we bring in as a problem in the decentralized space, which doesn't exist in Web 2, is privacy, right? Like privacy is solved in Web 2, but when we bring things in the decentralized space, like it becomes a problem. So we have to bring a solution where we bring the benefits of decentralization and also solve the downside of decentralization, which are the privacy part of it. If we don't bring both of the if we don't solve both of the sides, then the solution is not going to be compelling enough for the mainstream users to adopt. Yeah, totally agree with all of you. Thanks for the answers.
Excellent.
Yes, thank you so much.
On the arbitrage part, the only thing I cannot do it in a bank. I would be arrested
Exactly.
shortly.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much. I think we are coming to the end. So thank you so much for all. It was a fantastic session. Yeah, lots of interesting questions. So I would like to ask you one more question that was actually from. It was sent to me, and it was actually asked by many startups. So might I ask the questions to and also to you, Bidhan, as well. So what are the best strategies to attract and retain developers as a startup, as an early stage startup especially?
Pay them really well.
Yeah, but you're an early stage startup. That's the most difficult part, right? So
I mean, you can pay people in very different ways. I mean, you can make them owners of the company. You can incentivize them in different approaches. And fundamentally, developers want to build things. I mean, I'm a former engineer. You want to build things that people use, right? So getting people excited about a project that looks like it should have traction, then starts having traction, then has a mission, and has something that you believe in, and then ultimately starts to ship product and people start using it. These are the success criteria for your company, but they're also the success criteria for retaining a team. After that, take care of them, pay them well, look after them, make sure that they understand, why they're valuable, make sure there's it's tough, right? You end up thinking about things like career progression and so on, but the ultimate career progression in an early stage startup is the startup wins. That's your career progression, right? It doesn't matter if you get promoted to vice president of development, if your company just goes down the toilet, it's like, whatever, who cares? But if you're like, even if you're just like the same position as an engineer and your thing goes public or is acquired or like, a crypto project goes live, those are the success criteria. And I spend a lot of time explaining that to people and developers who come more from a situation of like, oh, I want to get promoted. A good example was, when Google was starting and they were hiring people out of, other companies and giving them like demotions. But it was like, well, they're just like, we're not just going to like build in this hierarchy that you guys have had in your other companies. Right now, you're an engineer. You may have been a project manager before, but if you want to come here, you got to be an engineer. And so I think that's really the narrative, is like helping people understand why what you're doing is, going to change the world, or whatever that narrative is. That getting people to buy into that, and ideally it's real, because the real stories are easy to tell.
I totally agree with you what Steven said. I would only add one aspect. Beware, try to hire people, not all of them, but some of them that are senior and good at managing several people. At least I have more experience with data scientists than with developers, but I see a lot of the same issues when I compare both careers. And if you ask if it's easy or not to find a data scientist that is able to manage several squads, no, it isn't. It's rare. It is most of them are lone rangers, even when they are very good. But each time you hire one developer that is really good at managing several squads, this means that he'll be good at training people, orient them when they are disoriented, motivating them. And when you try to have these on the team, it makes a lot of difference in the long term, I think. There are a team environment that you can only build with these guys. And a lot of them are very good, but they are not this type of team players. They are lone stars. They are good also, but they need to have this hat on top of the good leaders.
Tiago, as being a developer, how to attract you and retain you?
Yes, I'm going to recommend an article. I don't remember. I don't remember where I read it. It was on First Round Review, and it was the experience of a CEO that his strategy was to actually go and talk to the people and ask, what are you frustrated about? He did not start saying, oh, my company is this, my company is going to be the best, come and work for me. No, he started, what frustrates you? And understood what the developer was complaining about. Like, I want to build this, but I can't. I don't have the resources. I don't have the approvals. I don't have, whatever. So definitely understanding the pain points and seeing, oh, actually we could be aligned in there is a big advice that I would give, especially because you don't want in the beginning your team to be very large, especially before the product market fits. Focus on very, very good quality people on any area, but especially on development, because there are some developers that are very, very on their own capable and single-handedly can build amazing stuff. And finding these kind of people, genius, that also can have some team player on it and aligned with your mission where you're empowering them, it's, I think, very important. Just ask what is their frustrations.
I heard a guy that was the guy that made the turnaround of ING on the IT side. I don't remember his name, but he's a very famous guy. It was in a McKinsey conference, and he was explaining exactly what you're saying. But he said that we had a lot of engineers that have been promoted. And suddenly they were doing PowerPoints and managing meetings, and they were unhappy, so unhappy that most of them wanted to be demoted. And he was saying we had to fine tune who should be team leader and who shouldn't, because they were unhappy, and they were the best developers they had in the past that were becoming the worst leaders they had in the present. And so they had to do a complete refurbishment of the team, with some of them being demoted, and only some of them being promoted. So it was an interesting confirmation of what you're saying. And also what Steven said, that most developers like to have their hands on deck.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I think we are really already exceeding the time. So thank you so much. And I love this conclusion that, well, business is about people, right? And also venture capital is about also people. And any relationships which we are building today is about people, right? So that's a very, very great conclusion. So I would like just to thank you so much, everyone. I thank you for your time and thank you for being with us a little bit even longer. So I also will make sure that everyone is connected as well. So also prompt the audience to subscribe, follow. So everyone is like on the links below. So you can also find and follow and Steven, Ricardo, Tiago, and all our amazing projects and amazing builders that are doing fantastic job on making blockchain and AI space more interesting. So, and also I would like also to check one more time ICP conference, Crypto AI conference that is upcoming this weekend. So I will be there, so you can meet me in person as well and then pitch to me. So Steven also, by the way, also will be there. So Tiago will be there as well. So you can meet us, everyone in person, which is a fantastic opportunity as well. And if you want to be the next speaker and join our next episode, so you also will find the link below. So thank you so much. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.